has ever done.
And this monster starts running right at me.
Annihilated by nuclear bombs.
Beast is not dead. I put 4 bullets into him.
Oh, you're crazy.
But I saw that monster too. All I want is for someone to believe me.
Contaminated.
Face. Horrible. Looked like it would scare you to death.
All right, let's get to work.
Beyond the shadows.
There is a rusted hulk of metal sitting somewhere in the middle of a dense Canadian forest. It's not a truck or a plane. Not quite a machine at all anymore. It's the remains of something that once looked like it belonged in the sky, like it came from another world. In 1980, a man vanished from Vancouver Island without a trace. No body, no final words except a note. It read, "I've gone to walk aboard an alien spaceship." The man's name was Granger Taylor, a mechanical prodigy, a recluse, and, according to him, a chosen passenger on a voyage through the stars. Some say he died that night, others say he never left Earth. But there are some who believe he's still out there. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome. Tonight, we are covering the mysterious story of Granger Taylor. Absolutely bizarre little story. Absolutely bizarre. Welcome in. Jeez. I have been sitting here for the last 2 hours. Trying to get everything ready. And it has just been a nightmare. I believe we have the audio issue fixed. Still not quite sure what the problem was, but we seem to be doing okay. I think we have speech chat going. I think. Awesome. Everything seems to be going. Everything's running really well right now. Learning to deal with a little bit of attenuation issue with Discord right now, but we're gonna get it figured out. So, welcome in, everybody. Season 2, episode 26 of Beyond the Shadows podcast. I am Victus, your intrepid paranormal investigator. Hey, how's it going? Good to have you with us. I hope the echo's gone. I really do hope the echo's gone. It seems like it's gone at my end. My mic seems a little loud. I'm working on that. But I've just been constantly working today.
No,
It's been.
it's still there.
Is it really? That is so ridiculous. I don't even know how. I don't know how. I really don't. I'm about to scream. I'm gonna scream. I gotta listen now. I gotta listen. Jeez Louise. It's been an absolute nightmare. Jeez, let me hear it. Jeez, let me hear it. No, I don't hear an echo. No, I don't hear an echo. Now there's an echo because my phone was so close to the mic. You know, it sounds good enough. I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with it. I don't hear an echo. That's fine with me. I'm going to go with it. Anywho, so this week we are covering Granger Taylor. This is the story I thought I was covering last week, but I misresearched, for the lack of a better word. I misresearched. I researched the wrong story. I just picked up a thread and I ran with it, and I completely researched the absolute wrong story last week. So this week I have the story that I wanted to do. I am going to turn my mic down a little bit. There we go. So yeah, this week we got the story that I wanted to do. Things seem to be running kind of smoothly. I hope nothing blows up. I practically redid my entire audio setup because I was just having so many troubles. But let me see. Hold on. Let me do something. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay, cool. So, word from the underground. I spoke with Aon today. Things seem to be doing good. There's talk. The podcast lawyers are in talk with the Area 51 lawyers to see if we can get Aon released from the bunker underneath Area 51. Still waiting for the official word, but things are looking good. No new paranormal news this week. It's been kind of quiet for the last couple of months. But, you know, I guess no news is good news, right? So, worked myself to death this week. I'm glad I got a jump on the script for this week's podcast. YouTube has been blowing up. We have so many yeah. No news doesn't feed your addiction. I'm sorry. I'll look up something. Let's see what we can find. New paranormal news. Newsweek, really? So a mom was baffled when her toddler child sat up and said, "You need to cleanse and move out." Oh, geez, I'm not hearing. Now I'm not hearing speech chat. What's going on? Just bad luck. Bad luck. Let's see what else we get in paranormal news. Grandma blames ghost after toddler's test positive for fentanyl. Oh, geez. Quote, devil on trial. Shock reveal. Can sleeping pills really mimic possession? CCTV captures car door mysteriously opening by itself. The internet is stunned. Yeah, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But no, usually we've been getting something.
Fentanyl phantom. I've heard stories of him.
Yeah. Dog on highway dubbed guardian angel after he mysteriously vanishes. Yeah, there's lots of videos of dogs disappearing. Don't know if you're a dog person, but so there was a really big catastrophic flood here in the States last week, and lots of houses are just gone. This woman thought she lost her dog in the flood, and this is so awesome. Goes through the house after the water recedes, and the dog had climbed up on the top of a bookshelf, and it sat there for like 3 days waiting for her. So that made my heart happy. Yay! Yay, dogs for the win. Oh yeah. Oh, we do have something. I remember this. My news feed is really catered to what I actually read. Check this out. Let me switch seats. Hold on.
Now you're muted. But the text to speech isn't "I'm the captain now."
Yeah, sorry. I had my sources muted from last week still. Jeez. Sorry. Thanks for the reminder, Captain. I appreciate that. This is this is vampire skeleton found pinned to the ground with a sickle around its neck. The skeleton of a woman buried with a thin metal sickle around her neck, possibly to stop her from returning from the dead, has been found. The research team from the Archaeology Institute of Nicholas Copernicus University expedition, led by Professor Dariusz Polunsky, discovered the skeleton of a 17th century graveyard in a Polish village at Pien. Pien? An iron sickle was placed around the woman's neck, and there was a padlock around her big toe. According to him, this was a strange burial and was performed by the villagers who thought the woman was undead. Check that out. Sickle around the neck, hole in the head. There's the padlock around the toe. How weird, right? Jeez. That's pretty cool. This is recent. This what's the date on this? Yeah, I don't, it's September 7. Yeah, this is not new news. Shame on me. But no, I did see something similar to this just recently. Somebody did find one like this. This isn't the one, but they found one like it. Let's get off of here. How you doing, Lip? How are things going today? I hope all is well. I trust all is well. Things are smooth here, as smooth as can be, anywho. Yeah, we got a doozy for you tonight. This one, first time I heard this story tonight, it was actually on like a true crime podcast that I listened to. Shout out to Ashley Flowers. Crime Junkie. Check it out, folks. Awesome podcast. But yeah, they covered this story pretty extensively. Their research department is phenomenal. And I'm a sucker for good quality storytelling, which led me into podcasting in the first place. But yeah, the story is just beyond bizarre. And yeah, I trust anybody listening tonight including you, Lip. I trust y'all are going to really enjoy this one. But first, we forgot something last week. And shame on me, shame on me. But we forgot to do what shirt are you wearing today? So, without further ado, all right. So my shirt for this evening is one of my very favorites. I'm a cartoon junkie. I like my cartoons, and Adventure Time is my favorite. It's my go-to. So I brought out the Adventure Time shirt for tonight. Check this guy out. It says you're getting all hung up on imaginary problems. You gotta focus on what's real, man. Yeah, it's really hard to read upside down. Yeah, so Adventure Time. Yo, represent. I got like 6 of these shirts. But next week, I do have a new shirt for next week. Ordered it, as a matter of fact, just as we started streaming tonight. I got a notification that it shipped. So, oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Shipped 19 minutes ago. Sweet. So, new shirt next week. Hope y'all are going to enjoy it. Maybe we'll do something along the same lines. It's a cryptid shirt, so maybe we should do a cryptid next week. So there I go with my so's already. Let's crack another one and let's get into it. Tonight, we're heading to the west coast of Canada, to a place shrouded in fog and secrets. This is the story of Granger Taylor, a man whose mind worked like a machine and who one day told everyone that he was leaving Earth behind. He left blueprints, theories, and a full-sized UFO in his backyard. But the one thing he never left behind was an explanation. So buckle in, because this one's going to test the boundaries of what you believe is possible. Alien contact, telepathic communication, government silence, and a disappearance that has puzzled investigators for 4 decades. So to understand what really happened to Granger Taylor, first we have to understand who he was. Not just a mystery man who left a note and vanished, but the person behind the myth. His disappearance wasn't random, and it wasn't the act of someone looking for attention. It was the culmination of a lifetime spent on the fringe. Brilliant, misunderstood, and increasingly disconnected from the world around him. Granger Ormond Taylor was born October 7 of 1948 in the rural town of Duncan, nestled in the Cowichan. It sounds Japanese. Why is it in Canada? Cowichan Valley on Vancouver Island, British Columbia. The town was modest, quiet, a place of logging roads and mist-covered evergreens. It was not the kind of place where history was supposed to be made. But Granger's early life wasn't without tragedy. His biological father drowned when Granger was still a young boy. He was later adopted by a man named Jim Taylor, who by all accounts was a supportive and decent stepfather. His mother, Grace, was a kind and protective person, but there was always a sense that Granger was elsewhere. Mentally distant, distracted, locked in his own internal world. He wasn't antisocial. He just had a brain that was constantly occupied with the problems the rest of us don't even know how to name. Even as a child, Granger showed a remarkable aptitude for mechanical systems. He could take apart radios and clocks and put them back together, improved. He once disassembled a family lawnmower engine and rebuilt it from memory. He wasn't taught on how to do these things, he just understood them, as if some blueprint was already etched into his mind. At school, Granger did well, but not for long. He dropped out in the 8th grade, not because he failed, but because he was bored. By then, he was already outperforming his instructors when it came to mechanical knowledge. Formal education simply couldn't keep up with the way his mind worked. And by his late teens, he was already working with local tradesmen, mechanics, and salvage yards. That's when the town really started to notice him, not as the odd, quiet kid, but as the young man who could fix anything. One of his first large-scale projects was a steam locomotive. Rusted out and forgotten on a local property, most people would have seen it as a pile of junk, but Granger saw it as a challenge. Over the course of 2 years, he rebuilt the entire thing by himself, using parts he scavenged or custom fabricated. When he was done, the locomotive was fully operational. He could have sold it or used it to get hired by a railroad company, but Granger had no interest in commercial gain. He eventually donated it to the local forest museum, where it still sits today. I want to see the train. I want to see it. I wonder if we have pictures of the train. Oh, we do. Awesome. Wow. Okay, cool. Check this out. No, that transition's just not working tonight, is it? So this is it. This is the train. He found this in the middle of the forest, rusted out and completely forgotten. And he rebuilt this by himself with scavenged parts. That's him in the window there. I'm assuming, I think it's his mother, because I don't think in the research we actually hear anything about like a wife or anything. I don't think. I could be wrong, but that's him. I'm impressed. Color me impressed. Next came the World War II era Kitty Hawk airplane, a fighter plane that had crashed and been gutted for scrap. Granger found it, restored it to near working condition, and parked it in his backyard like it was another weekend project. People would come by and just to look at it. His home slowly became a kind of outdoor mechanical museum. Granger also dabbled in marine engines, but built generators and even helped neighbors fix their farm equipment. He never charged much. Sometimes he didn't charge anything. He wasn't motivated by money. He was motivated by understanding. But around in his late 20s, something shifted. Granger began to lose interest in earthbound machines. He started to talk more and more about space travel and anti-gravity propulsion and universal energy sources. At first, it sounded like a natural evolution for a mind as curious as his. After all, if you've mastered trains and planes, what's left? But his curiosity quickly evolved into obsession. He became particularly fascinated with the Bermuda Triangle, Roswell, and a series of UFO sightings that had taken place across the United States and Canada during the 1960s and 70s. He read every book he can get his hands on. He reportedly ordered NASA blueprints, USAF propulsion diagrams, and collected issues of magazines like Popular Mechanics, Omni, and UFO Report. He began talking openly about extraterrestrial life and said he believed it was not only real, but it was already here. So, out of the gate, we've got a really unique guy here. I can't help but feel like a kindred spirit to this guy. I was the same way growing up. I wanted to take things apart, not so much to fix them, but just to see how they worked. The flip side of that coin was I would take things apart and they wouldn't work when I put them back together. But, today I work with boats. I work on motors on boats, and I could probably do anything that needs to be done to a boat or to a motor anyway. Which taken me a great number of years to get to the point where I'm able to be competent in any type of mechanical work like this. But this guy was doing something. I'm nearly 40. This guy did it in half the time I did. So I like to think if I could take my brain and put it in a 20-year-old, that's what this guy's got. Um, but it definitely signifies he's a unique individual that yeah, he's just a weird individual. Just weird. And sorry, Lip, I saw. Oh my God. These stupid spam bots. Spam, I gotta ban somebody. Hold on. Ooh, this person has been flagged as suspicious. Ban. Cool. Goodbye. Manage the suspicious user. Restrict. Get out of here. Thanks for the number, though. What's the name? Imprecise malpracticer. Yeah, thanks for the thanks for the number bump for the day. I appreciate it, spam man. Anywho, it's geez, I lost my train of thought. Yes, sorry, Lip. I don't know why my damn speech check quit working again. I really don't understand what's going on. I'm having no luck with speech chat tonight. I'm really not. But we'll see what happens. I'll try to keep an eye on chat. Sorry, man. Friends and family noticed a shift. He wasn't unwell. He didn't exhibit signs of schizophrenia or delusion, or at least not in any clinical way. He remained calm, focused, and methodical. But the things he was saying was increasingly strange. He told people he believed he had made contact with an extraterrestrial intelligence, not physically, but telepathically. He claimed he received visions, thoughts. Audio's all over the place? Ah, geez. What is it, the audio levels? Are my audio levels getting crazy? I keep leaning in. Should I lean back? Perhaps
There's
Perhaps I
definitely
should-
an echo, reverb still, but it can't. Also, when you switch scenes, it changes.
changes. Is it better in the other scene? And then magically voice chat or speech chat just started working again. I don't know what's going on here. I'm cursed. I have infinite bad luck.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, maybe I should just turn the mic down a little bit. Hopefully it'll even out a little bit. I'm still figuring some things out. I'm having lots of trouble. We'll get it figured out. Sorry. So let's see. He told one friend that aliens had began preparing him for a mission. something that would change his life and expand his knowledge of the universe. He didn't say what that meant exactly, only that he trusted them, he believed in them. And then Granger built a giant flying saucer. I have a picture of it. I'm going to show you guys. We're going to switch scenes. Yeah, there's definitely a little glitch there when I switch scenes. I don't know what the deal is. The audio looks better at this scene than it does the other one. I don't know. I think I've got a hardware issue with my laptop that I use for streaming. I'm just going to have to redo everything. It's fine. Anyway, this is his UFO. It wasn't small, it wasn't a toy, and Granger constructed a 20-foot wide replica UFO in the woods behind his family home. Using 2 old satellite dishes mounted on top to form the classic saucer shape, he welded the structure onto cement pilings. He added insulation, windows, and even an interior bedroom area. He lined the walls with brightly colored lights and brought in a radio receiver. He took to calling this his thinking room. Ooh, yeah. Get a little buggy there for a second. Weird. Okay, we're gonna switch scenes again because this is getting a little janky. Yeah, this scene's a little smoother. I hit a snag with the encoder. It said I was able to catch it. I wonder if I get some shit open I can close here. Oh, I think I realized what my issue was here. Part of the issue, anyway. Hold, please. I'm really going to hope that this doesn't drop the stream, but my Ethernet cable isn't plugged in on the streaming laptop. So hold on. If it drops, I'll be back. Okay, it's plugged in. Let's see if it can seamlessly switch to Ethernet. Oh, cool. I think I'm still there. Awesome. I was having, whoops, didn't mean to headbutt the microphone there. I was having some connectivity issues there for a second. I realized my Ethernet wasn't plugged in. Blah. Oh, I can't catch a break. Anywho, Lip, if you would, if I'm still streaming, give me a thumbs up or something, please.
Yes, still with us.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm going to have to get a new computer because this one is just bugging out bad. I actually forced it to update to Windows 11. I didn't have the security, the encryption chip on the laptop. So it initially wouldn't let me update to Windows 11, but I forced it anyway with some roundabout stuff. And it's just, I think it's time to upgrade. I don't want to spend any more money. I've got so many computers in here. Geez, just going to have to bite the bullet and do it, aren't I? It might get better then. We'll see. So, moving forward. Sorry about that. He called it his thinking room. He would spend hours inside it, sometimes overnight. Neighbors would walk by and see it glowing from within, like something out of Close Encounters. Some thought he was joking, others thought he was finally losing his grip. But Granger wasn't trying to be funny. He wasn't spiraling. In fact, his stepfather, Jim, later said that Granger seemed calm during this period, more peaceful than usual. The saucer didn't disturb him, it centered him. But locals began to speculate. Was he building a working craft? Was it a signal beacon? Was it just a place to hide from the world he no longer felt he fit into? Granger didn't explain, but in conversations with friends, he began to speak more openly about his upcoming departure. He told them that aliens had set a date, that they were going to take him aboard their ship, that it wouldn't be permanent, but it would be a long journey, and that he would return with knowledge no one else had ever seen. People didn't know what to think. Some were worried, some laughed it off, others listened and wondered. Because when someone as smart and as capable and mentally sound as Granger Taylor starts talking about leaving Earth in a spaceship, you can't help but feel a chill. What if he's not crazy? What if he's telling the truth? And then, in late November 1980, just before he vanished, he left behind a letter. It was handwritten and direct, and haunting in its clarity. So we are going to read. I've got an actual image of the note. It just hit me. I think I know what my audio issue is with my audio being all over the place. I'm going to turn off noise filtering. You might get a little white noise, but I think we'll be okay. Okay, well, there we go. I did it. No more active noise cancellation, so hopefully this makes it sound a little bit better. Hopefully. We'll see. So we will read this note, but that's coming up. But by the time in November 1980 rolled around, Granger Taylor had already made up his mind. He wasn't just thinking about aliens. He wasn't just speculating. According to his own words, he'd been in communication with them. He told his friends that it wasn't a one-way conversation. He wasn't just sending out signals or waiting for a sign. He had said the aliens had responded. He didn't describe flashing lights in the sky. There were no reported UFO sightings in the area around the time of his communications. What Granger claimed was far more intimate and harder to disprove. He said they spoke to him telepathically. The way he described it, the communication would come as a kind of mental download, a block of thought or knowledge that wasn't his own. Sometimes it would hit him while he was alone in his UFO replica. Other times he'd be working or laying in bed and suddenly the message would arrive at his mind with such clarity that he felt like he had spoken it out loud. He never gave names. He didn't describe the aliens' appearance. He didn't call them Greys or Nordics or any of the usual extraterrestrial categories that were popular in the UFO subculture at the time. That wasn't Granger's style. He wasn't a conspiracy theorist. He wasn't a New Age mystic. He was a mechanic, a builder, a practical man with an impractical claim. But to those closest to him, he seemed utterly sincere. One friend later said, he didn't say it to shock anyone. He said it like he was talking about fixing a generator, just plain fact. And those facts, according to Granger, were these. The beings he was communicating with were not from Earth. They had chosen him because of his engineering knowledge. They wanted to show him how their technology worked, from their propulsion systems to power sources. They would take him on a 42-month journey through space, and after that, they would bring him back. He began telling his story more openly. He told friends to watch the sky on certain nights. And he told his family that he was going on a long trip, but that they shouldn't worry. He wouldn't be gone forever. But of course, that's not what happened. On the morning of November 29th, 1980, Granger Taylor was gone. That day, a powerful storm swept across Vancouver Island. Winds knocked down trees and cut power lines in multiple areas. It was the kind of storm that makes people hunker down. But Granger had made up his mind. That evening, he left a handwritten note addressed to his parents. It was short, precise, and unemotional. It read, quote, "Dear Mother and Father, I have gone away to walk aboard an alien spaceship. As recurring dreams assured a 42-month interstellar voyage to explore the vast universe, then return. I'm leaving behind all my possessions to you as I will no longer require the use of any. Love, Granger." I want to show you all this picture. I've got an image of the letter. And I will begrudgingly switch scenes and watch my video go to shit. Oh, the transition worked that time. There we go. So it says, "Dear Mother and Father, I've gone away to walk aboard an alien spaceship. As recurring dreams assured a 42-month interstellar voyage to explore the vast universe, then return. I'm leaving behind all my possessions to you as I will no longer require the use of any. Please use the instruction in my will as a guide to help. Love, Granger." This is it. This is the actual letter. This is good evidence, folks. This is good evidence. I'm sorry. There are missing persons stories, murders, abductions, people are kidnapped, all sorts of little things with less evidence than this that are thought to be true. We have a handwritten note from the guy that disappeared saying he's going to walk aboard a UFO. I mean, how does it not get any more clear cut than this? I don't get it. But still. His parents found the note the next morning. His bedroom was left in order. His bank account had nearly $10,000 and was untouched. He packed no clothes. He had taken only his pickup truck, a 1972 Datsun, and some dynamite for some reason. But the dynamite was in his truck to begin with. Not to be confused with, he like loaded up his truck with dynamite in case he ran into a UFO. However, I am not 100% sure what a 1972 Datsun looks like. What? Datsun pickup. Yeah, there we go. Okay, wow. I didn't even know Datsun made a truck. Cool. Yeah, kudos to this guy. That's a cool little truck, man. It's like a Datsun, but the back seat's cut out and the bed is in place. That's cool. I want one. That'd be awesome. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And some dynamite that he sometimes used for clearing stumps on his property. Yes, dynamite. Granger was known to keep explosives. It wasn't unusual in rural British Columbia at the time, especially for someone who frequently worked with machinery and land maintenance. But taking it with him that night would later become a critical clue in the investigation. No one knew where he had gone. There were no tire tracks, no calls, no UFO sightings. He was simply gone. The investigation thus begins. At first, his parents thought it might be a joke. or that he had gone off to a friend's cabin to be alone. But after a few days, worry set in. They contacted the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, and an official missing persons report was filed. The RCMP took it seriously. Granger wasn't known for erratic behavior. He had no criminal history, no drug problems, no history of violence or instability. He was a known quantity in the area. A little eccentric, sure, but stable, helpful, kind, a normal person. The police searched the family's property, his workshop, the nearby forest. They interviewed neighbors, friends, and coworkers, but they found nothing. There were no signs of foul play, the indications that he'd run away. No note of suicidal ideation in his journals or letters. His truck was gone, and not a single person remembered seeing it leave the area. And there were no leads, not a single one. He simply vanished under the cover of a stormy night, with only a note left behind and a timeline, 42 months. The number haunted his family. 42 months, 3.5 years, roughly 1,278 days. His parents clung to that number like a countdown. Every day, every month, they hoped that one day he'd return, driving up the gravel path in his Datsun, full of cosmic knowledge and stories from the stars. But 42 months came and went. Granger never came back. But let me say, there is some science behind that, the 42 months thing. We're going to get into that here in a little bit. I'm going to try to find the optimal place to really tell about it, probably closer to the end when we get to wrapping it up. But I did crunch the numbers. We do have something called time dilation, that when you travel, so if you're traveling interstellarly, you're going to have to travel near the speed of light in order to cross any major distance in any decent amount of time. So I've actually done the math, depending on the percentage of near the speed of light travel he took. If he was gone 42 months, according to time dilation, the faster you go, the slower time travels. So think about the movie Interstellar. You remember in Interstellar where they go down to that planet covered in water, and they're only down there like 10 minutes. And then they come back. And when they get back to the ship, the guy said that he waited for like 27 years or something like that, because the planet was closer to the event horizon of a black hole, which made time travel more quickly on the planet than in orbit. That's time dilation. So when you're traveling near the speed of light, you're moving at a normal speed, but everything else is moving slower. And there's math behind it. I've found the equation for time dilation. It wasn't easy to calculate. I may or may not have used ChatGPT to help me. Let me mark my spot. Let me go down to the bottom where I put these notes. So, if Granger Taylor did vanish aboard an interstellar craft traveling near the speed of light, then modern physics gives us the framework to reconsider his disappearance. Through the lens of Einstein's theory of special relativity, time, as it turns out, is not a constant. It stretches and warps depending on how fast you're moving. If Granger experienced 42 months, just 3.5 years aboard a ship moving at 99% the speed of light, Earth would have aged nearly 25 years in that same span. So push that to 99.9% the speed of light, and then Earth would have experienced 78 years in his 42 months. And at 99.99% the speed of light, that number explodes to more than 248 years. So in this scenario, Granger isn't dead. He's not missing. He's simply still in transit, his time unfolding slower than ours. If he does return, it might not be to the same planet or to the same people he left behind. It reframes everything, not as a tragic disappearance, but as a possible waiting game, and the clock is only ticking from our side. So there's something to think about. Time dilation is a real thing. Uh, we just it's something that really isn't brought up in a lot of this research, and I don't know why. Uh, when it comes to interstellar travel, you're going to be traveling. Uh, let's see, what's our closest star, or what's our closest galaxy? How about that? No, let's go. What's the closest star that could have life around it? Proxima Centauri. It has a planet, and Proxima Centauri B, is located within its habitable zone, meaning liquid water could potentially exist on its surface. Proxima Centauri is a red dwarf star, and while it's relatively close, 4.2 light years, it's also much dimmer and more accurate than our sun, which could pose challenges for habitability. So, 4.2 light years. If I traveled 99% the speed of light, how long would it take to travel 4.2 light years? So yeah, if he was traveling 99% the speed of light, it would take him about 4 1/3 year. 4 1/3 years, so 4.3 something years to travel from here to Alpha Centauri if he was doing 99% the speed of light. Due to time dilation, the traveler would experience a shorter duration. The exact amount of time experienced by the traveler would be less than 4.2 years. Which is approximately 7.089 at 99%. So he would, okay. So if he traveled 99% the speed of light for 4.24 years to Alpha Centauri, it would take him 0.6 of a year, so roughly 7.2 months just to travel. So let's say 7.2 months there, 7.2 months back, 14.4 months of travel. So then there's still pretty good amount of time. This is an acceptable science. This is an acceptable theory. I love that there's math behind this, and you could just Google that question. Where were we before internet, folks? Jeez. Where were we? How do we do it? You couldn't ask that question when I was growing up to the internet. Jeez. Ask Jeeves was all we had. I don't miss Ask Jeeves. I don't at all. Google is way better. So there you have it. There's some found excuse me, dyslexic moment. Some sound science behind that. I'm glad that we were able to pull up some actual math behind this. Because it's hard to really give an idea behind a concept or a theory without sound evidence. And I feel like this is sound evidence. This is as sound as it gets. 42 months, including time dilation. He could be gone for a very, very long time, depending on where he's going and how fast he's traveling. I assume they're using near light travel or near the speed of light travel. FTL, FTL would be faster than light. Too much Helldivers. Too much Helldivers. Ugh. Initiating FTL jump. The years following his disappearance were filled with theories. Some believe he had taken his own life in a dramatic and symbolic way. Others thought he may have accidentally set off the dynamite he carried, possibly as part of a symbolic launch or a ritual gone wrong. But there were no remains, no crater, no wreckage. Nothing to support that theory. His family didn't believe he was dead, not at first. Grace Taylor, his mother, reportedly believed for years that he had gone on the journey he described, and that one day, somehow, he would walk back through the door. So would we expect to see him in like 42,000 years or so? Yeah, it's not a bad question. Not really. Um it's just it's hard to say precisely because we don't know exactly how fast he's traveling, right? So all we can do at this point is guess how long he's really going to be gone. Because we don't know. We have no clue. Geez, let me pull up this time dilation thing. I want to read it again. Yeah, it's so I wonder, it's just, you would assume that if they're traveling here, they're probably traveling near, if not at the speed of light, right? So, I mean, between 99% to 99.9%, or 99.9% to 99.99%, we go from 78 years gone to 248 years gone. Geez, it's just, if he traveled at the speed of light, he would be gone even longer. It's just, the movie Interstellar is the great way to really understand a lot of these concepts because time dilation is really confusing. Um, it's just, yeah, again, it's really hard to say how long he's going to be gone because we don't know how fast he's traveling. If we knew how fast he was traveling and how far he was going, we could say definitively when he was going to return. Because yeah, this is the note was written in like relative terms, like I'm going to be gone for 42 months my time, not Earth's time, because obviously 42 months has passed since the 70s, right? Um, so it's 3.5 years he should have been back, and he's not back. So it tells us that he's traveling faster, if not near the speed of light. And at that point, who knows how long he's going to be gone? Honestly, it's really really hard to say. It really is. But you're right. He could be gone 42,000 years. Let me ask ChatGPT if he was traveling the speed of light, how long he was gone. Let's see. Short answer, if Granger somehow traveled at the exact speed of light, c, constant, time would stop entirely for him. From his perspective, no time would pass at all, no matter how far he traveled. But according to Einstein's theory of relativity, nothing with mass can reach the speed of light. Only massless particles like photons can do that. Yeah, because, geez, now we're getting into a lot more of the physics, because, and this is something I forgot until just now. So stuff with mass, the closer you get to the speed of light, the slower you're going to travel. And Jeez, let me just read this. Let me just read this because I'm not going to be able to explain it appropriately. So if Granger could travel at the speed of light, time dilation would reach its extreme. Time experience on the ship, t or t to negative o equals o. That means any journey, whether 10 years or 10,000 years Earth time, would feel instantaneous to him. From Earth's perspective, any amount of time could pass depending on how far he traveled. Imagine Granger zipping off to a star 1,000 light years away at light speed. From our view on Earth, he's gone for 1,000 years, or 2,000 years round trip. From his view, he leaves instantaneously and arrives instantaneously. No time passes on his clock at all. If Granger returns from a journey at or near light speed, the world he left behind would be decades or centuries or even millennia older. While he might feel like he just stepped out for a moment, it's the ultimate ghost story, a man who vanished and might return to our planet that no longer remember him. So yeah, 4.2 light years away, it would take him in our time, if he was traveling at the speed of light, 4.2 years in our time. Instantaneous. No, it goes in an exponential rate. 420 years. Yeah. Exponential, sorry. So yeah, there's this whole thing. It's really hard to say. Physics is really weird like that. It really is. I'm going to save my opinion on the matter towards the end because I'm going to go on a nice big tangent at the end of this. It's going to be really, y'all are going to love this. The years following his disappearance were filled with theories. Some believed he'd taken his own life in a dramatic, symbolic way. Others thought he may have accidentally set off the dynamite he carried, possibly as part of a symbolic launch or ritual gone wrong. His family didn't believe he was dead, not at first. Grace Taylor, his mother, reportedly believed for years that he had gone on the journey he described and that one day, somehow, he would walk back through their door. In the UFO community, Granger became something of a legend, a sincere, intelligent man who may have actually made contact. His case is cited in books, online forums, and documentaries. Unlike many abductee stories that are hazy or dreamlike, Granger left behind something concrete. A plan, a timeline, and a written statement of intent. But no one could really say for sure where he went or why. And then years later, the RCMP received a tip that would lead to a grim discovery. Mm-hmm. That's right. Grim discovery time. Time dilation. Ugh, gross. So for nearly 6 years, the name Granger Taylor was spoken with a kind of reverence in the quiet communities of Vancouver Island. Not in the way one remembers the dead, but in the way one speaks of someone who might still return. No one really knew what happened to him. His family clung to the note that he left behind, the 42-month timeline, like a countdown, ticking in the back of their minds. But when that deadline passed and the months turned into years, something in the atmosphere shifted. Hope became memory. Mystery turned to myth. Until someone found a crater. It was a chance discovery in the thick woods of Mount Prevacet. Not far from where Granger had lived, a logger working in the area in the spring of 1986 stumbled across a clearing where the soil was unusually disturbed. At its center, he found twisted metal fragments, charred soil, and what looked like the rusted remnants of a vehicle's frame. Nature had begun to reclaim it, roots pushing up through the wreckage, moss thick along its edges, but the man knew it didn't belong there, so he called it in. The RCMP reopened the case. The RCMP quickly responded, and for 6 years, Granger's case had been cold but never forgotten. The mention of an old explosion in a buried vehicle was enough to bring investigators back into the woods. The site was clearly years old, overgrown but visibly altered by an intense blast. Trees had been scorched, and the shallow crater was consistent with an improvised detonation. Among the scattered debris, they found metal parts, bolts, glass, and the twisted frame of what appeared to be, here's the kicker, appeared to be a Datsun pickup truck. So this is the part that gets me, because the research says one thing, and I've seen pictures, and we'll read what the research says, and then I'll tell you my piece. Using the vehicle identification number and parts, they confirmed the vehicle had once belonged to Granger Taylor. That much was certain, but more difficult to confirm what happened to Granger himself. So they say that they found, officially they say that they found the entire VIN number for the truck that he was driving. But unofficially, you can find pictures, they're out there, that show pictures of the VIN. And what's a VIN? How many numbers are in a VIN number? Like 16, something like that. They only had 3 VIN numbers, 3 of the 16. So they were able to discern immediately, oh, these 3 numbers in the middle prove that this was Granger Taylor's truck. No. That's not how that works. You need the entire number to prove it was his vehicle. And if his brain works like mine does, if he completely restored a Datsun pickup truck, it wouldn't have a VIN on it anyway. Back then, VIN numbers were stamped on a thin, flimsy little piece of aluminum and was riveted in place, and you could just pop the rivets off, and then you wouldn't have a VIN number anymore. This guy was a tinkerer. He took the vehicle apart, probably piece by piece, and put other pieces in there. For all we know, it didn't even have a freaking Datsun frame underneath. It was probably something else with a Datsun body on top of it. Just saying. Context clues, investigator people. Context clues. At the site, investigators recovered small bone fragments, not enough for full forensic analysis by 1986 standards. No DNA profile, no dental records, nothing definitive. But the RCMP ruled that, given the circumstantial evidence, location, vehicle, explosives, it was highly probable that Granger had died in the blast. But the case was quietly closed, the file marked with the tragic conclusion, suicide by dynamite. But as with everything about Granger Taylor's story, nothing was that simple. There were details about the scene that raised eyebrows, not only among the public, but also some of the investigators. For one, the remote location. The site wasn't easy to reach. It was several miles up an unmarked logging road, far from regular traffic and deep enough in the bush that it took 6 years to be found. If Granger was intending to take his own life, why go so far? And why dynamite? Granger had access to it, yeah, but the use of explosives as a method of suicide is extremely rare and unpredictable. The blast could have caused suffering or partial injury. It wasn't fast, it wasn't clean, it also wasn't guaranteed to fully destroy remains or evidence. Which begs the question, where was the rest of him? When the RCMP gave their official conclusion, Granger's family was devastated, but not entirely convinced. His mother, Grace, was never able to accept the suicide theory. In interviews later, she said, quote, Granger was not depressed. He had plans. He believed something incredible was going to happen, and I truly think he believed it. End quote. Oops, I just spilled some on myself. Yep, I do that. I do that in a fit of joy. I spill beer in my shirt. Which reminds me, for those of you listening, especially to our listeners in the Netherlands, thank you for your continued support because we are officially ranked in the top 150 of comedy/paranormal podcast in the Netherlands. We are ranked 148 as of this week. Thank you to everybody in the Netherlands. You guys are awesome. Insert Netherlands joke here. I don't have regional jokes. I don't know how to respond to that. I'm sorry. Uh, but thanks for listening, Netherlandians. You guys are awesome. His stepfather, Jim, was similarly conflicted. He accepted the evidence, but believed the note was sincere, not the rambling of a troubled mind, but the deliberate expression of a man who had a clear plan. Granger's close friend Robert Keller later said, quote, "He never once hinted at wanting to die. He told me flat out he was going to space. I didn't believe him, but I also never thought he was saying it as a joke." End quote. So now we're going to get into some alternate theories. One theory that gained traction among locals was that Granger had staged the explosion. According to this idea, the blast was a smokescreen, a way to fake his own death and disappear without leaving behind a trail. Supporters of this theory point to a letter. Point to the letter. Its language was cold, clinical, and specific. It lacked the emotional weight of a suicide note. Instead, it read more like an official mission log. They also note the timing during a storm, when any explosion would have been masked by thunder and high winds. Some believe that Granger went underground, possibly to live off grid or even join a fringe scientific group. Others suggest that he may have tried to build a functioning spacecraft and that the explosion was the result of a failed test. But no parts consistent with a launch system or propulsion testing was found at the site. And then, of course, there's the UFO theory. It might sound extreme, but this is Beyond the Shadows after all. This is what we do. We explore every possibility, no matter how crazy it sounds, because oftentimes, what's that figure of speech about when you eliminate everything? What is it? Murphy's Law? Is it Murphy's? No, Murphy's Law is what is everything that can happen will happen. When you eliminate, what is that figure of speech? Geez. Let me see. When you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. You've got it. You got it. Thank you, Lip, so much. I know we keep you around for a reason. When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. Train of thought. Let me keep drinking my beers. In this version of events, the explosion was not Granger's doing. It was part of a retrieval operation designed to destroy the evidence of a landing zone or disguise the method of extraction. According to this idea, the dynamite may have been placed in the truck after Granger was removed or set off by an external force. The lack of bodily remains, the absence of a secondary note, and the clean disappearance are cited as signs of non-human intervention. Supporters of this theory reference other contactees who have spoken of scheduled pickups or telepathic instructions. Granger's 42-month voyage echoes similar numbers cited in alleged abduction accounts, often involving precise but arbitrary time spans. And then there's the cultural oddity of how his case mirrors sci-fi tropes, but predates many of them. His story is like something out of the X-Files, but it happened before the X-Files existed. Did Granger know something we didn't? Another theory, much darker, links Granger's disappearance to government involvement. At the time of his vanishing, there were classified military installations in British Columbia, including NORAD, listening posts, and radar monitoring stations. Some believe Granger may have stumbled onto something, either through his mechanical knowledge or through radio communications. Supporters of this theory tied to a case of MK Ultra project, which was still fresh in the zeitgeist. Following its exposure in the 1970s, they claim that Granger may have been targeted for experimentation, recruited for black budget. Hold on. Supporters of this theory tie his case to MK Ultra project, which was still fresh in the zeitgeist. Following its exposure in the 1970s, they claim that Granger may have been targeted for experimentation, recruited for black budget engineering project, or even silenced for getting too close to classified tech. Silenced. The hat came out. The tinfoil hat came out. The falling apart tinfoil hat has come out. Yeah, this thing is just, I really need to remake this. They're gonna get me with their brainwaves. I've really got to, I gotta get my shit together. Because they're gonna get me one of these days. But as with many conspiracy theories, this one lacks hard evidence. Of course it lacks hard evidence. Because they don't want you to know the truth.
I'm not saying it's space aliens, right? But it goes without saying it's fucking space aliens.
Yeah. Tinfoil hat time, everybody. It's a far-fetched idea, but when you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. It must be. It must be. Jeez. Wow, I messed my camera angle up again. Jeez. Wait, now look like I'm sitting at a really low desk. There. So, when news of the truck's discovery reached the press, local newspapers ran headlines like, quote, "Mystery of missing mechanic may be solved." But the readers weren't so sure. Letter to the editors trickled in, questioning the conclusion. Some accused the Some accused the RCMP of taking the, quote, easy answer. Others lamented that the real questions had been buried with the debris. Over time, Granger became something of a folk figure. His face never appeared on a national TV broadcast. There were no true crime documentaries in the 80s, no viral coverage, but among those who knew him or heard about him, Granger Taylor's story took on a feel of modern myth. A man who built his own spaceship, a man who said aliens were coming, a man who walked into a storm and never came back. Whatever happened in those woods, it left behind more questions than answers. So, we're getting close to the end here. When someone vanishes without a trace, The story doesn't end with their disappearance. In fact, that's often where it truly begins. Granger's Taylor left behind no body, no witness, no answers. Just a note, a saucer in the woods, and a belief that somehow he was going somewhere else. But if we step back for a moment, strip away the rumors, the theories, and the speculation, we're left with one central truth. Granger Taylor was a man who didn't fit inside the limits of a world he was born into. And this is kind of par for the course when we're talking about alien abductions. Generally, the people that experience this are not your social norms. Like, I don't know how. I haven't been picked up yet. I really don't. Maybe I have. I don't know. I will say. Ooh, here we go. Let me go on a little tangent. um, like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So I used to work for Department of Transportation. So I drove a lot. So I would go on long drives, and while I'm driving, I would fiddle with my beard or like rub on the side of my face. And I noticed one day the back of my left ear, I had a tiny little lump. And of course, my first thought was like, oh geez, it's like cancer or something, right? But it didn't hurt, it didn't bother me, I didn't get headaches. It was very, very small, like the size of a pea, maybe a little smaller. But it was hard to the touch. I was like, well, maybe it's like a pimple or something behind my ear. Tried popping it. Could never get anything to happen to it. It just stayed there for like 2 years. And then I moved over here to the East Coast. And one day, I left work, came home for lunch. And when I come back from lunch, they're like, what took you so long? Right? So usually I'm like, I come home, let the dog out, and I leave. So I come home, let the dog out, I drive back, and dude's like, what took you so long? I was like, what do you mean took me so long? I was only gone like 30 minutes. He's like, no, dude, it's been like an hour and a half. I said, no, it wasn't. I was like, you're not going to get over on me, right? And while I'm arguing with this guy about how long I was gone, he's like, dude, what's that? He's like, you got some blood on your neck, right? And like behind my ear, dripping down to my neck, there was some dried blood. And I was like, what the hell? So I go and look in the mirror, and it was like one single drop of blood had dripped down from the lump that was behind my ear, and the lump was gone. And I lost like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Don't know what happened. Maybe they scooped me up during my lunch break. Thank you for doing it during my lunch break. And took back their implant. I don't know. Just saying. It happens. That's my implant story. So, so yeah, I actually called it my implant. I didn't know what it was. Never went to the doctor or nothing. Just to, I just assumed it was like an abscess or something. I don't know. It didn't bother me, so no point in going to the doctor about it. I can't afford to go to the doctor. Anyway, since then, it's never come back. I've never had it again. Every now and again, that spot behind my ear will be irritated, and it'll get like, not like inflamed, but it'll be red. Like my whole left ear will turn red. It's really weird. It's really weird.
I'm not saying it's space aliens, right? But it goes without saying it's fucking space aliens.
So yeah, it can happen to anybody. Keep your tinfoil hats on, y'all. Anyway. More than 4 decades have passed since Granger vanished in that November storm. But his story continues to resonate, especially in his hometown of Duncan, British Columbia. Locals still speak of him with a mix of awe and sadness. To those who knew him, he wasn't just a guy who built a UFO or talked about aliens. He was the young man who could rebuild an engine in a single afternoon, who helped fix neighbors' farm equipment, who donated a restored steam locomotive to a museum. Not for money, but because he believed it belonged to everyone. His stepfather, Jim, and his mother, Grace, both passed away without ever receiving closure. In their lifetimes, neither fully accepted the idea that Granger had taken his own life, or left on a spaceship. Grace, especially, held on to the idea that maybe, just maybe, her son had done what he said he was going to do. She said, quote, he wasn't lying. He believed it. With everything in him, he believed the aliens were coming for him, end quote. And that's what she said in a rare interview before her death. Today, his name becomes something of a whispered local legend. His story is taught in college psychology and sociology courses as an example of belief systems. He's featured in UFO documentaries, blog posts, and fringe lore podcasts. Hey, all right. And perhaps most haunting of all, the saucer he built still exists. Yes, Granger's homemade UFO is still there, in the forest clearing behind his childhood home. Now weathered and overgrown, it's covered in moss, rusted through in places, but unmistakably otherworldly. A relic of a mind reaching for something far beyond what most people even consider real. Granger Taylor's story is often cited alongside famous abduction cases like Travis Walton, Betty and Barney Hill, and Frederick Valentich, the Australian pilot who disappeared mid-flight in 1978 after reporting UFO tracking him over the ocean. Well, I think I know what we're going to cover next week. Frederick Valentich. But unlike those cases, Granger's story stands apart because of one key difference. He wasn't taken. He was said he was going. He was said he was going? Ugh. Let me get another drink of this very quick. Mm-hmm. Yep. But unlike those cases, Granger's story stands apart from others because of one key difference. He wasn't taken. He said he was going. That element, that agency, is what has intrigued researchers and writers for decades. Granger didn't claim to be a victim. He didn't wake up confused or traumatized. He planned for this. He meditated on it. He communicated with them and said his goodbyes. Writers like John Robert Colombo and investigative researchers in the Canadian UFO community have noted that Granger's case is unique because it combines elements of genius intent and spiritual belief into a single event. It's not just about aliens, it's about a man who may have found something the rest of us have missed. In 2019, CBC released a short feature titled Spaceman, diving into Granger's life. The documentary included interviews with locals, friends, and UFO researchers. It sparked renewed interest in the case, especially among younger audiences who weren't alive when it happened. Podcasts, just like this one, continue to revisit Granger's story. Each time the facts remain the same, but the implications grow more chilling. Behind the theories and cultural fascinations, there's more of a personal impact. Granger's disappearance left a hole in his community. He wasn't just a name in a file. He was a brother, a son, and a friend. His closest companions speak of him in reverent tones, describing a quiet but intensely thoughtful person. Someone who would fix your car without asking for anything. Someone who spent more time building than talking. And someone who was deeply isolated, despite being surrounded by people who admired him. Many believe that Granger's increasing obsession with space, UFOs, and alien intelligence was a way of coping with that isolation. That his mind, unable to find a place on Earth, began to search elsewhere. But if that's true, it only deepens the tragedy, because Granger wasn't just looking for an escape, he was looking for understanding. And maybe, just maybe, belonged to a group of people who have come to be known in modern psychological research as space-minded individuals. Those who see the stars not as a mystery, but as an invitation. To this day, people still argue over what really happened to Granger Taylor, and here are the top prevailing theories. The official explanation, suicide by explosion. This is the RCMP's conclusion. They believe that Granger went into the woods with dynamite and took his own life. His truck, or pieces of it, or one similar to it, was found in 1986, destroyed by a controlled blast. Bone fragments found at the scene was not definitively proven to be his, but were consistent with the theory. But many still ask, why write a note promising to return? Why disappear with such meticulous planning? 2. Stage disappearance. In this theory, it suggests that Granger wanted to vanish and faked his own death. The explosion, in this view, was a decoy, either to help him escape into a secluded life off-grid, or to cover for something larger, like his participation in a secret scientific program. But no one has ever reported seeing him again, and no trace of such a life has ever been found. 3. Alien contact and extraction. This is the most extreme theory, but also the one that Granger himself supported. In this version, he was picked up and said he would be and taken on a 42-month interstellar voyage. Supporters point to the lack of a complete body, the mysterious timing of the explosion during a storm, and the history of telepathic contact. If he was taken, the next question is, why didn't he come back? Did he die in transit, or was he never meant to return? Or is it possible that the return is still to come? Granger Taylor's case has been compared to several other mysterious vanishings involving strange notes, bizarre behavior, or unexplained contact with otherworldly forces. Frederick Valentich, I don't know, it's spelled weird. The Australian pilot who radioed in that the strange aircraft is following him, then disappeared mid-flight in 1978, and no wreckage was ever found. Stephen Kobiak, who disappeared in 1977 while cross-country skiing and reappeared 15 months later with no memory of the time in between. David Lang, a 19th century farmer who supposedly vanished mid-step in front of multiple witnesses. Though largely debunked, it's often cited in alien disappearance lore. Granger's case, though, is more grounded. We have real documentation, real timelines, real evidence. And we also have the lack of evidence, the silence, the fact that after the discovery of his truck, we're still left wondering if the truth was left behind in those woods or lifted into the stars. Okay, so we're getting close to the end. I need to use the restroom right quick. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we return, you didn't see that, did you? Sweet. I've got a tinfoil headband now. Yeah. I've got to rebuild my tinfoil hat. It's falling apart now. It's falling apart. No. Well, it's a tinfoil cosplay. I don't know. Well, I'm going to take a quick break right quick, and we'll come back and we'll talk about our closing statements. Hang tight, everybody. And we're back. We're back. Oh, Feel much better? The cat has followed me into the studio. She is here, hiding underneath the table. If she gets close enough, I will grab her. I will. And you will see her. But we've come to the end. We've come to the part where we've got to come to a conclusion. And I'm down to my last beer. I try not to have too many, otherwise I won't be able to read the script. So, Granger's Taylor, Granger, right out of the gate. Jeez. Granger Taylor's story persists not because it has all the answers, but because it asks the right questions. What if someone did make contact? What if belief, combined with intelligence and action, can manifest a kind of reality the rest of us can't see? What if the boundary between genius and delusion is thinner than we think? And what if Granger wasn't crazy at all? What if he was right? So what if he was right? All right. So let's look at everything. He definitely didn't show signs of a delusion. Um, you know, I don't think we could say he was crazy at all. This wasn't even a factor in this case. Everybody that knew him or had any kind of dealing with him would say that he was very sound-minded. But let's check our boxes. First things first, who's making money off of this? Let's see. Oh no, the hiccups are back. Okay, so there was a movie in 2024. And, I see a bunch of podcasts that covered it. There was an even shorter movie in 2019. But I'm not seeing like his family didn't make money off of it, obviously. They're not with us anymore. A couple mentions, some documentaries and stuff throughout the years, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of places that are making money off of it. I'm just going to put his name into Google Maps and see what comes up. No. Nope. The only thing that comes up is Granger Industrial Supply. All right, cool. Yeah, I'm not seeing anybody that really made money off of this, right? Let me go ahead and I'm just gonna run through this slideshow while I'm doing my closing stuff. It seems to me that he was just a really, really smart individual. That he didn't quite fit in, and he did seek answers elsewhere, no matter where they could be. So, I feel after going through this investigation, that we have two scenarios. It's either A, he was actually taken up by UFOs, aliens taken to another planet, which is why we haven't seen him to the day because of time dilation. The distance to travel near the speed of light, you know, time stretches. Um, or B, he used this as a way to hide his wanting to go off grid. I don't see it being a suicide issue. I really don't. Um, there's nothing that really says or really screams to me suicide. He doesn't seem like the type to want to commit suicide. I feel like if anything, the crater that they found was either a cover up for him going and disappearing, or my brain goes to he was taken up in a ship and, maybe on their way out, taking off, they said, well, we've got to destroy your vehicle. And, that's just what it is. There just happened to be dynamite in the back. However, I don't feel like the crater that they found was actually his. Um, I don't know. It's just, I get the vibe from this guy that he's really kind of like chill. He's happy with who he is and what he did in life. But I don't exactly get the vibe that he wanted to die, that he wanted to kill himself or just disappear. So in my brain, I thinking the only thing that makes sense between the two outcomes is he actually left. He was actually picked up. And I can't really think of any real reason, aside from social anxiety or what have you, to want to just disappear. He was in British Columbia. He had all the space in the world. He could just go and be alone if he wanted to be alone. So why, fake his death? But I will say that in the research, I have found somebody that in the last 10 years have done some DNA testing on the fragments of bone that were found at that crater that supposedly had his vehicle in it. And those bone fragments were non-human. So it begs the question: was this crater thing staged? We didn't. Excuse me. Ooh. At the time, DNA testing wasn't a thing, so I could see how he would put like a bear skeleton or pieces of bear bones or deer bone or whatever and blow it up in his truck just to cover his tracks. Like, if, for all we know, he could have got on the ship and they said, well, we said 42 months, but it's going to be 42 months our time, not yours. And so he's like, well, give me a second to kind of cover my tracks. Because by the time I get back, everybody will be dead anyway, right? So I think in my heart of hearts that this guy really had contact with extraterrestrial life and that he was really taken willingly, and he will be back one day. And I hope that one day he hears this podcast. Yes, if you listen, we called it. Um, I'm 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 really interested to know if in my lifetime if I'm going to see the resolution of this, because it's very very interesting. But it is what it is. So, given the evidence I was given today through the research, I believe that Granger Taylor is alive, that he is not on planet Earth, and he will return one day. So take that for what it's worth. So we're going to call that a victory. A victory. So that was the mysterious disappearance of Granger Taylor. Um, it does kind of fall into the brackets of missing person, uh, unsolved crime, what have you. But
Pretty wild story. Even if it's not legit, must be crazy going down a rabbit hole like that.
yeah, there was a lot of things I had to sift through to really get a decent storyline out of this. And it made it difficult to really formulate an idea of what I think really happened. But once I heard the story in a linear fashion and I saw the evidence in a linear fashion and, pulled from more than one source, which is what we do, things started to kind of clarify. Sure, it's a wild story, but, like we said, once we eliminate all options, no matter how fantastical, whatever remains must be the truth. I haven't seen anything that could say it's suicide. I haven't seen anything that says he wanted to live off grid. So the only thing that remains is he was taken willingly. It's as simple as that. And I think that's what we're dealing with here. Um, this is one of the very few cases where it's the lack of evidence that gives us the most evidence. You see what I'm saying? And, you understand why I wanted to tell the story last week. And I just picked up on a name and I thought it was it. Um, Horribly wrong, but hey, we got another week out of it. Uh, but this is why we do the investigations. We do our best to look at things objectively, and we take in all of the evidence and formulate an opinion based on that evidence. There was a lot of things that I did off screen before streaming tonight that helped me formulate my opinion. Essentially, the nail in the coffin tonight was time dilation. There's no way that anybody is going to be traveling interstellarly without traveling near the speed of light, and that's going to affect the rate of time. And that's just how it is. Einstein came up with it years and years and years ago. And there's a reason it's sound physics today is because it's been proven correct. They were able to prove time dilation by, at the time in the 1940s, synchronizing clocks, putting one in a train going as fast as it could. And at the end of that trip, they put the two clocks together, one in the train, one out of the train. The one in the train was running slower than the other, even on Earth. And that's the way time dilation works. I firmly believe that eventually he's going to show. And this might be the case that when he shows back up, we will get full disclosure. This might be the one. It's as simple as that. This might be the case that when he shows back up in 42,000 years, whatever, if full disclosure hasn't happened, it's going to be this guy that brings it to the light. And that's the way I feel. I feel like we're dealing with a legitimate case of not alien abduction, but alien possession, where they took him willingly because he is such a unique individual. But yeah, I don't know if he's going to show up in our lifetime. I would like to think. Let me go back and look at what was the earliest. So 99% the speed of light. He would have returned in 25 years. Let me see what year he left. 1980. So that is 2025? What? No, 2015. So he would have been back in 2005 if he was traveling 99% the speed of light. And if he was traveling 99.9% the speed of light, he'd be back in 78 years. I don't think in my lifetime I'm going to see him. Probably not. So if he was going to return in 2005, I probably would have seen him by now, or he would have made news. Excuse me. And then again, maybe he's traveling at 99.99% the speed of light, which means he's going to return in 248 years. So that's 228 years from 2000. So 2000 and 2212. He should be back in 2212. I don't think I'm going to be here for that, unfortunately. Hopefully this podcast will last. That people will still be listening. But Granger Taylor, if you're listening to this at a future time, thank you for doing what you did, leaving behind the evidence you did, being sound of body and mind. You did the right thing. Thank you. But I'm going to say he's probably not going to show up in my lifetime. I don't know how old you are, Lip, but I'm 40. I'm not going to see another 20, 30 years. But maybe, just maybe, somebody in the future is going to see him. And he's going to show up and be like, hey, I'm Granger Taylor. And hopefully, just hopefully, somebody's going to Google that name or whatever's prevalent at the time. This podcast comes up. And they find out what happened. And he tells the story. So, we're going to call that a win. I have one tiny closing statement to make before we leave for the night. Excuse me. But before we go, those of you listening, if you enjoyed this show, please don't hesitate to follow us on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. It helps us. We're doing what we can to monetize and get some ads running on YouTube. Make a little money off of this so I can increase our production quality. Get rid of these audio issues.
If you feel like you need to follow us, we are at Beyond Shadows Podcast on YouTube. Feel free to give us a like. I would appreciate it. But with that being said, I'm going to get out of here because I feel the hiccups coming on. Now we get to do my closing monologue with hiccups. Fucking hiccups. Here we go. In the end, Granger Taylor left us with more than just a mystery. He left behind an example of what it means to chase the unknown with your whole heart. He lived in the space between logic and logging, a man of machines drawn to the stars. Was he taken by aliens? Did he fake his death to escape a world that didn't understand him? Or did he go out into the forest at night, light a fuse, and leave this earth in a way no one expected? We may never know, but maybe that's the point. Because sometimes the mystery itself is the message. And sometimes the people who vanish leave behind more than those who stay. Thank you for joining me tonight and my hiccups. And remember, no matter what you do, make sure you follow us beyond the shadows. Good night, everybody. Have a good night, Lip. I'll see y'all.
A creature like that, I wouldn't ever die.
And this monster starts running right at me.
Annihilated by nuclear bombs.
Beast is not dead. I put 4 bullets into him.
Oh, you're crazy.
But I saw that monster too. All I want is for someone to believe me.
Contaminated.
Face. Horrible. Looked like it would scare you to death.
All right, let's get to work.
Beyond the shadows.